3, 2, 1.
Really help the community grow. Sarah, congratulations on becoming the executive director to the radio station. It's a great accomplishment. But I think today we're going to celebrate our community leaders. And at this time, I think we're ready to jump in.
Thank you, Dr. Bazzi. Now let's jump right in. Community leaders, can you start by telling our listeners a little bit about
Thank you, and congratulations for the opening of the radio station program in the next program. My name is Noel Hamadi, the founder of Hamadi Education Services, as well as the Academy Star International Academy and 3 other sister school academies.
Hello, everyone. Mayor Bill Bassi, City of Dearwood Heights. Going on 3 years being a mayor. I was city council for 2 years before that. And my background is aeronautical engineering. And also I spent 21 years in the United States Marine.
Good evening. I'm so happy to be here. This is really exciting, and congratulations, especially to the young leaders. My name is Maha Frej. I'm the President and CEO of Access, the Arab Community Center for Economic and Social Services. I've been with Access for more than 30 years. It's a very well-known and established and impactful community organization that many of you most likely are familiar with. So I'm going to tell you more about it later. But a little bit about me. I immigrated from Palestine in 1989, and I am a proud mom for 2 young men, Leif and Omar.
Yes, Sarah, thank you. Dr. Bazzi, thank you for inviting me. My name is Osama Sibwani. I'm the publisher and the founder of the Arab American News. In fact, yesterday was 39 years ago that I opened the door for the Arab American News on Michigan Avenue. And thank you. So I know the feeling. I know what it means when you start something like this, because I did it myself 39 years ago in one day. So I congratulate you. I'm willing to stand by you, support you, and help you, and do everything I can to make sure that you are successful. Something I did not have when I started the paper. I think one of the things that is important for our community is for us to know our history, how we started, where we started, and when I started the Arab American News, which I will be talking about later on, I did not even know that there was a community in Dearborn. I thought that the community was on decks. And so I was a CEO, the vice president of a company in Troy. So I started the newspaper in Troy.
This is a very, very deep question, but I think, if I wanna tackle it, I will tackle it from the perspective of, I think our biggest asset and strength is the generosity and the agency that we bring with us. We have a beautiful culture. We really come from a region that brings so much warmth with it, so much generosity. And as long as we don't lose and try to become something else, and while we learn new things, we always honor who we are and what we are and the good things that we bring with us, I think we will be fine. I'm a strong believer from the perspective of access, which started 51 years ago now in the south end of Dearborn as a storefront. And it became now one of the most well-respected multi-service human service providers in the nation, not only by the standards of our own community, but by the standards of our business in the nonprofit community. It's an organization that grew to have more than 120 programs, touches the lives of families from every perspective you can imagine, whether it's their health, physical health, mental health, their economic mobility, their basic needs, their education, from dealing with education from a young kid's perspective to adults. And it became, because of its being known as an identity-led organization, an Arab American-led organization, it managed to design a very, very wide tent that allowed the national Arab American community to unite, no matter where they come from, whether they are coming at it from being into arts and culture through our museum, whether they are philanthropists, they might engage with us through the Center for Arab American Philanthropy, or whether they want to be an activist or build their own community-based organization through the National Network for Arab American Communities, or through designing programs and depending on data through the Center for Arab Narratives, which does research in the community. What I'm trying to say, that moving from a community-based organization in the south end of Dearborn and becoming this massive national institution that we are so proud of, I think the secret is that we never, ever lost touch of being community-based oriented organization. And that's sometimes the danger that organizations may fall into when they quote unquote professionalize. You lose touch with who your community is. So I know I have to move on, but I think my lesson here and what I want people to know is that being true to who you are and not copying what others are doing, just taking what works in other places and see how you can adapt your own culture to it and not force it on yourself and being relevant and reactive to community needs in a strategic, professional way is the way to go. And this is the story of Access. And that's why Access is the organization that, got so much respect all over the country because it didn't lose touch with its own community when it's professionalized. Thank you.
I think one of the most important assets that we have as a community is our diversity as a community.
Yes.
I think that when I came from Lebanon, for example, I did not see many of Arabs from different countries. In the Arab world, with 22 nations. So we don't know each other. Currently, we have been introduced to each other when we came here in the United States, and we became neighbors, and we became students, in the same school, and we started to know each other. And I truly believe that one of the most important things that we can do is for us to get to know each other, and most importantly is to accept each other differences. I think that this is one of the most important lessons that I've learned in my business, is to look at the other person as equal, not necessarily the same. And I think we should treat each other with respect, even when we vehemently and strongly disagree. I think that what we see today is our community growing. And I remember when I started the paper back 39 years ago, we were a community marginalized, and we were discriminated against, and we were sidelined. And we were insulted actually in Dearborn when a mayor ran a campaign based on anti-Arab death, and he won. He came from number 3 to number 1, and he won in 1985. But what happened is that we did not stop. We engaged the others. And now we have a mayor who is an Arab American, 32 years old. That was like 7 years before he was born. We started the paper. And that's how we should look at each other. We have another mayor who is sitting around the table, that he served in the Marines, and now he's serving in the Dearborn Heights as the mayor, and he's doing a terrific job. I think we should be thankful for what we have accomplished, but I just want to know, everybody should know, that it is only the beginning. We are just starting, and the future is limitless. And we should not be bickering and fighting on silly and stupid things, but instead we should look for the future as a bright future for our children, for you. You should be leading in the conversation, and you should tell everyone to be respectful, even if we have vehemently disagree. This is how we should be learning what democracy is all about. And we are in a great country that has given us the opportunity to grow, and we are growing, and we are getting somewhere, and we need you to lead the way.
Ladies first, or?
Thank you, Mayor. So I want to piggyback on what Mahan mentioned as far as you know taking something and not necessarily copying it, but to kind of bring back something that can really serve a bigger cause in your own way and not necessarily following. So I also, Osama has mentioned something about the culture. That you mentioned culture, and you mentioned also um, the strengths that really make us who we are in the diversity. It is those factors in the discrimination that we have. I have personally faced myself. I kind of served in a public school setting, private school setting, and I recognize, and I have children myself, and I'm a proud mom of 4 young professionals. So being an educator and understanding the needs of students from an educational perspective and being a mother. And on top of all of that, coming to this country and recognizing there are certain aspects in education that, certain schools as a whole, they do a great job, but our community needs are not necessarily all of them are met. And so some students' needs are not necessarily met. So the cultural aspect was a big thing for us, especially maintaining the language of our heritage and also the cultural aspects. So the idea of our schools, which is the Hamadi schools, starting with STAR, International Academy, or sister academies, stemmed from these aspects. And as a mother, I felt an urgent need to come up with a program that will accommodate my own kids. And with the influx of immigration as well, it has become very obvious that there was a much greater need than was being catered in other schools. So that idea, and luckily the charter school movement was beginning at the time. It was in the early '90s, and after looking into how and what to do, I never knew that I could do such a project. My dream was a small school, and demand was incredible. So the idea as a mom was the idea of every mom, it seems, within our culture, and the influx and the need for the Arabic language and the traditions and so forth. So we hit the ground running in 1998, and we see that the additional needs are beyond just the culture. So it's not important just to cater to the culture and the language. You have to really be competitive with to the other educational institutions and make sure that your kids are successful and they have opportunities and that they can move beyond and maximize their potential. So I believe in quality programs and researching whatever. So we built on the weaknesses that we had and made a strength out of it. That's basically what my initiative was. So rather than sitting and crying about it, we don't take a negative approach. We took a very positive approach. Look on that and looked at the resources. Our community is very rich and very capable. Rich not necessarily in money. We don't call ourselves rich in money. No, rich in resources, rich in talent, rich in abilities, and we love the sense of renewal. You see the Arab American community, wherever you go, you really take pride of how they approach their businesses and everything. So they improve the cities, they improve the services, they improve on whatever they do. They're competitive in the sense they like to do better and be the best of the best, which is really what we're supposed to do, not just to kind of do a hasty job or whatever it is. So the K-12 programs or pre-K programs stem from that need. And alhamdulillah, we see it now where we're at. And again, never give up and continue to grow and continue to make things better and look around you and see what's changing around you. And the Hamadi Educational Services, it is about change, it is about growth and development, the learning, and making sure that the future generation has the skill level to lead us in the right direction. And we don't only focus on education alone, we build character. We teach them to be human beings. We teach them to have good work ethics, which is now it's a major issue in many areas, in many places. And so our kids, we really take pride in them, in the fact of how they work and how they approach things. Thanks to the teams that we have. And again, we have great people within the community. We take pride in our staff, we take pride in our parents and our students. And we're grateful to everybody, and thank you for being here as well to share your experiences and your knowledge. Hopefully, we can continue to support our students and to learn from them, and they learn from us as well. Thank you.
So everybody made some great points. Some of the stuff that I want to go back to what Miss Amon mentioned. In 2011. I remember in 2011, I was actually, sent overseas, on a 14-month deployment. It was a country called Djibouti. Most people don't know where Djibouti is, but it's next to Somalia.
Yeah.
So I was there 14 months, we're doing different things, with counter piracy, counterinsurgency in that area. So, some of the stuff at that time, I had some downtime some days, and I didn't like what was going on in my city in Dearborn Heights. So I've seen a lot of stuff that Mr. Sablani mentioned, some of the mistreatments, of residents, of different ethnicities. So I started a white paper, writing everything that I want to do when I come back. When I wanted to come home, some of the stuff that I want to do, to change it. And so that was in 2011. So I came home the end of 2012, from a deployment, but I still have time, in the military, you can't really go into office, because it's not really allowed. So I had to wait, a few more years to finish, which was 2016 and 2017. I ran for office, and when you mention assets, everybody in this community, there's assets. Like you guys have great assets, like what you guys provided, us, the people, in both, communities or any community in the area. And like, Ms. Hamadi, Ms. Reish, and, Mr. Savani, you guys have had, scholarship programs, you offer, kids an opportunity to go to college. I've had the honor to work with students for many, many years. And, some of the students, youth, from kindergarten and up, you go engage, kids, you talk to them, you read to them, and you see some of them, like great things come out of their mouth, like they want to do things. And so that's our asset, our youth, because they can do so much. And Mr. Sabani said it best, we really have to work together. We really have to get the youth and everybody together. You have to make sure people communicate with one another so we can be a lot further, in 39, 40 years from now. I think, every year we excel, we do a lot of things. I've seen a lot of great improvements in the last few years in my city, in Dearborn Heights. And I'm really optimistic of all the great things, that I've seen with our youth, kids just right into high school, they know exactly what they want to do. And I follow them a few years later, and they do exactly what they say they want to do. So that's encouraging to me. And that's a huge asset, for the community, for the people, that we have great youth coming, and those are our future. And they're going to do a lot of great things. I'm proud of them right now, but I think we're going to be a lot more proud, when we see what they're going to accomplish in the next, few years.
Now, Mayor, I would like you to tell me the next 39 years what's going to happen. We will meet somewhere, but I'm going to have to depend on you because I don't know that I'm going to be here 39.
Well, Mr. Sablani, we have faith. God is not ready for us right now, and I can tell you one thing. In 2012, I was staring at death. I almost didn't come home on that deployment, and God did not want me to go on that deployment. And that's one of the things that I was actually in the hospital when I woke up. I said, what? When I come home, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to improve things. I want to do things for the city. So I think God has worked a lot of work for us. And what they say is that God doesn't give you things that you're not going to be able to handle, right? So
So, but Sarah, can I say something about the youth? So yes, it is true that 39 years I started the paper and the community grew with me, and I grew with the community and became older and wiser with this community. But there is something that happened 2 years ago that has given me a perspective that I have never seen before in my career. And what happened that I started a scholarship for the Dearborn Heights and the Dearborn High School students that are bound to college. So the first year we gave 20 scholarship. The second year we gave 27 scholarship. Now, the thing that happened that brought tears to my eyes, literally, and gave me hope. And I thought that this is the best thing I have ever done in my life. Is when I started interviewing some of these students. That they came to this country with nothing. One of them brought tears to my eyes and at the same time gave me hope. I couldn't even continue the interview with her because her mom died when she was 3 years old. When she was 4 years old, her dad left her. And she went to her grandmother. And her grandmother raised her on welfare. Her grade point average is 4.6. And she was turning 18 and she had to be on her own. And she was telling this as a matter of fact, very confident of what she's doing. I had to stop her and I told her, stop. And I had to leave the room because I was crying. But she was stronger than me and she had suffered and carried her weight. And that gave me hope that the young people in our community are going to be much better than what we have done. And I am almost positive that we are in good hands. That we are in good hands.
I want to say something to piggyback on what Osama and Bill were saying. I think that, where I am right now in life, we have a lot of young people that work at Access, and I keep reminding people that what is more important than achieving the actual goal is being in the journey. Being in the journey is what counts. So, because we get stuck sometimes about what's fair and what's not fair. We get stuck sometimes about why us. It's like this is not fair, and sometimes that kind of conversation can stop you from, in being in intentional of walking in a particular journey without worrying about all the barriers and without worrying about whether you are going to achieve your goal or not, because you might die before you achieve your goal. And that's, of course, you want to achieve your goal. I'm not saying to people don't achieve your goal, but what I'm saying that what counts more is whether when you put your head on the pillow at night, you ask yourself, am I doing everything I can or not? And that piggybacks on what everybody was saying here, which is unleashing the intentional generosity and philanthropy that exists in every single one of us, meaning being a contributing human being, opening a door for someone. It could be by giving a scholarship to a student. It could be feeding someone. It could be just telling somebody, I feel with you. It doesn't matter. Just an act of kindness, whether it's big or small or medium. It makes the human being who does that act a much more powerful and more impactful human being. And that's what we claim when we work with every single member of our community, because being a contributor is actually a prerequisite to being a fully or being a complete human being, by asking yourself, what do I give? How do I make a difference? How do I look at a problem area and I design a solution for it, and I go on that journey to solve that particular problem area? And so from that perspective, people who do that are so lucky, because there will be stories like the one that Osama told. There will be maybe a refugee who came from a war-torn place, and just help them to find their way, or help them buy their first home, or just to have a shelter above their head. We with the Center for Arab American Philanthropy, for example, our job, I'm a gardener. So I look at our job as providing the fertile ground to unleash the potential of people. That's it. They have it. They have it. You just give a hand up a little bit and unleash it, So, for example, from a philanthropic perspective, we have over 200 funds right now, people led by people like us. They might not be Bill Gateses or anything like that, people like us. And some of them are doing work through their funds to affect things in the Middle East. Some people are doing things because they care about solving the diabetes problem in the community, because somebody in their family suffered from diabetes. So they fund research about diabetes. And there are so many people who care about education, the way Osama was talking. So we have, like this year alone, through these donor advised funds, we had more than 94 scholarships done in 1 year between all these scholarship funds. And we didn't do it as access. We just gave the tools to allow people to think about what they care about, what kind of students they want to help, and to disseminate and to help make sure that those scholarships are being executed the way the donor is intending. So I guess, and I'm going to talk more about that whenever I have another chance, I'm a strong believer in, rather than complaining, my mom taught us something. I grew up in Palestine. And I don't know if, because it's a Palestinian accent, there is a saying in Palestine, بدل ما تقول كش اكسر اجرها, meaning if there is like a fly that's bothering you, don't say get away, just cut its legs, just deal with it, for God's sake, just fix it. So that is the main thing that I think, if we don't lose it, be true to who you are, respect our diversity, and understand that the journey is even more important than the actual destination. Because I believe in God. When we die, we're going to be asked, how did you live your life? And I might not liberate Palestine, but I will say, at least we tried, we did something, So anyway, I'm mixing too many things.
So in education,
I apologize. Sorry.
In education, we say failure is not an option.
Yeah.
There shall be no excuses for, when you face challenges, it should be no excuse at all. It's okay. Challenges is what make us better human beings.
Yeah.
And it gives us the strength to rise to the top and to really, change how we're working.
Yeah.
And so also, I do want to share something. I really value and appreciate everything that you have said. And it really relates so much to what we're doing. And I'm sure with your organization, the same thing. So we don't shine, or, things don't really become where they're at with no energy and with no time. So anyone and everyone has potential. Everyone can do what we have done. They just have to give it a try, have to find their way, figure out, troubleshoot, problem solve, and so forth. And so in my kind of journey, there were a lot of challenges, from a political end, financial end, facility end, everywhere. And so that did not stop us because I believe that, the more we face those challenges, the better it gets. And we also sharpen our skills that way. And don't be afraid and don't sit and cry about whatever situation you have. It doesn't help you, it doesn't change anything. The thing about it is think with your mind, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to resolve this issue? Or how am I going to change and so forth? Always, so God gives us those challenges for a reason. So for the schools, the students, our students, you'll see now the results of it. You look back and reflect, did I do the right things? Did I, has that made a change? And the result, the outcome is what speaks to you and of what has been done. It is okay. And I'm very thankful for all the challenges and all the good and the bad things that happen in our lives, and so forth, and for the future. And I see our students, the way they're being prepared, and our team of staff and the leadership and everything, even community, the resources, the support that we're getting from everywhere, it's all coming together. And so we're making it, available to our students. And we look forward to our students to look at us and see how we were able to make it, even though we didn't have all the goodies that now they have. So they can make it, they can move beyond and make it much, much better. So when I was doing whatever I'm doing as a superintendent for the past 23 years, I reached sort of a stage where I felt the youth now needs to take it over and kind of take it from there and look in a very short period of time, this is what happened. So it's important to always set our goals about making a difference. Make your goals valuable and not about money alone. Money should not be the center, because it's the hard work and the good goals that really get you to where you want to get. Making a difference in the lives of others. The story that you told, Osama, is amazing. The scholarships, it goes a long way. The academies have really worked very, very hard to getting our students into the best colleges and, to get their careers in place. And so continue. And I see the vision. I know next thing probably we want to talk about our vision for the future, where we see this is going. I see.
Has another question for us.
Oh, okay. Am I ahead of you? So go ahead if you want to ask another question.
Truly inspiring. That was a wonderful discussion. We're going to step aside for a commercial break now, and we'll be back. Please enjoy some tunes from the Nest Radio.
Five, four, three, two, one.
To hold them and want to fold them. And I think that, like in my staff, I listen to the younger people who are coming in to the meeting. I learn from them because they know more than me about what's going on. I know what has happened in the past, and I think I can help them in understanding the past. And that is something that I wanted to say, and I hope that you listen to it very carefully. I think those who do not know their past, they will never be able to go to their future and be successful in their future.
Amen.
And I think that the biggest problem that we have today is that we are a grown, robust community, but we do not know our past. We don't know what happened, that we are sitting here today on this September 8th of 2023. What happened that we got here? Who drove us all the way here? I think our young people, they have to know our past. They have to study our past. They have to tell their children about our past. Because if we do not know our history, it is a big, huge problem that we will be lost. The generation that I came from have done something very important. They have created a culture, not a cult, a culture that can grow people, that they can grow in Dearborn. They were raised in Dearborn Heights, and they can go to Harvard, and there they can grow, and they probably go to the Senate or to the White House. I have no doubt that one of the people that are going to be sitting here holding microphone and asking questions one day might be on ABC nightly news or an NBC or CNN or Fox or somewhere. Fox, I hope that nobody goes to Fox. So I think that we can open doors and we can teach people how to succeed, but they can only succeed if they know where they came from. Because if we do not know where we came from, we're lost. And that is what my biggest fear today in my community. Because I can see that we are somehow, we do not know where we came from. We don't know how we got here. It wasn't like this. Young ladies and gentlemen, we were a community that on the sideline. We have worked very hard to be where we are today. But where we go from here forward, it is not up to me. It's not up to him or to her, because we have done our jobs in bringing you in here. Now it is your job to take us farther and straightforward, but you have to know where you came from. Did I answer your question? Thank you. I'll tell you another story. So one of those stories that I have that changed my opinion and my outlook on life is I was interviewing a young lady for the scholarship. And she was so tiny. And she spoke so softly. And her English was so good. And her grades were phenomenal. 4.5, 4.6, I can't remember, it's 4.5 or more. And I asked her, when did she arrive? into the United States. And she told me she came in 2019 from Yemen. And I was totally shocked that somebody comes from a war-torn country that gets 4.5, 4.6 point average in high school. And then where she is going to Harvard. This is the kind of future that we can give to our children. I was stunned and so happy to see this, but this is only a sample. This is not an exception, by the way. But only if we, like Maha said, we provide the opportunity, the roadmap, but it's up to you to go where you want it to go. And I'm saying this to you because I look around and I see some young people in here, and I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in Dr. Bazzi. I thank my sister, Nawal, for initiating the schools. But knowing when to fold them is very important. And knowing when to hold them, it is more important. So now somebody has to lead. And you guys have responsibility to lead, but never to forget where we came from. And when I see this woman, this lady, that she is so successful, 10 years from now, I am so happy that I've just had a little thing to do with her success. So I just wanted you to know, I can tell you so many stories about what I have done in the last 39 years and what I have seen in the last 39 years. When I came to this country myself, I arrived on December 28, 1976, with one-way ticket and no one to receive me at the airport, with $185 in my pocket. That is the story of the most of our people. $185, I was telling somebody that I had $100. You know what he told me? He said, you had too much. I had $7 in my pocket. So these are our stories. Now you are much better. You're in a better position right now to move forward and to take us with you places. Please, it's limitless. America is a great country. It opens roads, it opens opportunities for you. All what you need to do is just to grab it.
Well said. Sam. Thank you. You know, from my perspective, just to piggyback on what Osama said, of course, young talent is always the future. But I think at the same time, I want to share with you how I personally see the future and what do I work every day until I go to sleep working towards, which is what I see for our community is this united, smart, capable, contributing, philanthropic, civically engaged community that is enriching and improving the communities that it lives within, the whole United States, and the entire universe. We're contributing, we're adding value. We're smart when we do our careers. We are good with our families, with our parents, with our spouses, with our children. We are good with our neighbors. We are good with ourselves as well. We don't forget about taking care of our spirituality. And we ask ourselves every day, we don't forget to ask ourselves every day about what is our purpose in life. And we work towards that purpose, which is something in the public good. And I think that when you live in a society, especially these days, where the individualism and And let's face it, this is a capitalist culture. So a lot of times the definition of success is what kind of job you're gonna have, how much money you're making, and what kind of car you're gonna drive, and people will do anything to get there, and they think that's happiness. And let me tell you, young people, that's not it. Rida is happiness. Being content, doing your best is happiness. So, so from my perspective,
Driving a nice car is not bad.
it's not everything. I'm
I
sorry.
would know.
It's not
As long as
everything. It's not everything, but it's good. Something good.
I think that it's very, very important that we keep strengthening our muscle as a community. On the importance of being unified. I mean, we do come from 22 different backgrounds in the Middle East and North Africa, and we are a bit different from each other, but we are one. And working hard in an intentional way on that unity is something that doesn't happen by itself. It just doesn't happen by itself. And the other thing is that when we look at how we show up collectively in American civil society, again, it's we transform what success means from that individual success. Yeah, you can be very successful as an individual, but the real success is that contribution when we are doing it in a collective way. And by the way, I'm not in any way or shape or form advocating for us as Arab Americans, the way we say it and we joke about it, like to live in a ghetto, like not to interact. No, it is about being influential and contributing to societies where we live, and therefore maybe even influencing the entire globe. And that happens only, yes, when you go to good schools is good, when you get good grades is good, when you are a good neighbor is good. But the true influence is if we train, and it's a training, it's not rocket science, but it requires training, like going to the gym, pretty much, is when we train ourselves about asking each one of us, asking himself and herself, what is my purpose in life? And that's something public, something that doesn't have to do with me personally. And I work toward that. And then I gather other people and I unleash their potential if they believe in the cause I believe in, to bring them along. And collectively, we become this community that is, making a difference, solving problems, contributing to make the world a better place. And that's what I want to see. And that's what I work on every day. And this is the future I see for our community.
So the future, I think, in my opinion, is very bright for our youth. I've seen a lot of great things, a lot of greatness in the last, few years, which, I can reflect back to when we immigrated to the United States from Lebanon during the war. It was, there was no school, most of the time the schools were out because of the war. So we came to the US, we didn't speak English, and even Arabic was hard to know the alphabets. So the Arabic alphabet. So at 12 years old, we were pretty much, I was learning the ABCs. And, some of the things that when we go to high school, talk to kids, from different classes, that's some of the stuff that I tell them is I see some of these students, how bright, as Sister Blaney mentioned, some of these kids, over 4.0 students. I can tell you I was not a 4-point student. I think I was lucky to get 3-point, when I was in high school. And so, even like everything that I've accomplished, was able to get a master's degree in aeronautical engineering, worked for Boeing, done a lot of great things, with the government. So I consider myself at 12, I was very literate, So right now, just seeing some of the kids, how smart they are, some of the, like the National Honor Society students, Key Club students, and all the great accomplishments they've done so far, they're way ahead of me. they were like 20 years ahead of me. And I just want to make sure that the students, they don't lose focus, they stay motivated. Because I always tell students, when I go to talk to them at different schools, that if I was able to accomplish some of the stuff that I've accomplished, imagine what they can do. And I can tell you, we had a very humble beginning as well. So when I graduated high school from Fortson, I thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to get into college because my parents wanted me to go to college. So I decided, I was working graveyard shift, at a cashier at a gas station. And so I figured to get a little bit of money so I could pay for my tuitions, because back in the day, we didn't have the resources we have now. And, people like Osama, Maddie, and Ms. Fred with Access, you provide scholarships to students. We didn't know what a scholarship was. So I remember my class, I was at Henry Ford. I always tell that story. And I was working nights, all night, 12-hour shift, get off work like it's 8 o'clock in the morning, go home, shower, eat, go to class like at 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I fell asleep in one of my classes. When I woke up about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, the lights were off in the classroom and there was nobody there. I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to go back to that class again. So I pretty much dropped classes, 2 classes I was taking at Henry Ford. And just soon after that, I joined the Marines because, I didn't want that life, because I couldn't just work and go to school because we didn't have the resources. So the reason I'm saying this is I want to tell the students that, the future is really bright because there's so many different resources, so many different tools that they can use. There's a lot of great people, a lot of great leaders over here that can mentor them. And, like Star Academy, I've been here several times, talked to Dr. Bazzi, Ms. Hamadi, seeing the students, how, they're disciplined, how they just want to contribute. And just some of the stuff that I've seen in the different schools around, being engaged with these kids, they want to come volunteer, work at the city hall, just for free, just to get the experience. We've never had that. So we have great leaders right now at schools and like yourselves that actually empower the kids. I just want the kids to feel like they have people really care about their future, to make sure to do something. And I'm going to finish by saying, if I was able to get to this, like being a mayor of a big city like Dearborn Heights, just imagine what they can do. So I'm banking on this. I'm putting everything on this, that these kids are going to be amazing. They can do a lot of great things.
I think each one of you has really shed a lot of light on our students, and even to me personally. And it seems like we share a lot of experiences and visions. So on my end, for the schools, and on behalf of the schools, I see if I were able to do it, anyone can do it. And so how many years it took? So maybe 25 years to have a radio show. It's okay if it takes that long, never give up. So whatever your goals are and whatever you set your mind to, I'm sure you can do it. If you where there's a will, there's a way, you can achieve a lot. Like each one of you have kind of shared that we have a lot of resources within the community. And our students have a lot of opportunities. When we came to this country, we didn't have it. My English was really funny. It's still funny anyway. So I struggled with my English language. I still consider myself as a second English learner. And then I struggled throughout the years, climbed up, and before you know it, to me, the stars were the limit. I never limited myself in anything. And the way I see our students and the potential they have and the resources they have and the goals they have and all the good people and the good organizations within the community, which we didn't have back then. We were all starting and getting things together. Now that we have it made, we want to maintain it and make it better. So I see our students are going to be the leaders, top leaders, and you really stand out. There's something about you. You stand out from all the different kind of youth that we are seeing. You're talented and you're intelligent and you have what it takes to do much better than we did. And like Osama said, never lose track of your background, your history, your culture. It's very important to hold on to your culture, the good things, of course. Every culture has the good and the bad and the evil, whatever it is. So we have a lot of, we are rich in our culture. And so in holding on to those values and mix them with the talent and the education and the knowledge, you are going to be so powerful. So I see our community future heading in the right direction, even though there are so many challenges that may come your way. And don't forget, we have challenges from every direction. When I was, leading the way, I felt arrows on my back, and I just did not think about the arrows and the pains. I thought about my goals. How am I going to stay focused and achieve my goals? And I fought all those challenges by staying focused and put and worked hard, trained myself, whatever weaknesses I had. I went to school. I continued to go to school. I never stopped going to school, and I improved on my skills. If you cannot do it, if you feel you cannot do it, figure out a way. People who can mentor you, coach you, and support you, and I'm sure you will really rise to the top and you will reach your potential. I have faith in our students. I am very thankful to actually have the leadership that we have, like Dr. Ali Bazdi, and even the CEO, Haidar Nimr, and my sons also along the way who have helped me throughout the process of building this initiative of the schools. Rami Hamadi, Majid Hamadi, Nader Hamadi, they all played a part in the success of Story and our educational system. And don't hesitate to engage as you eventually have your own families, engage your kids to build their skills from early on. And that goes a long way. And I'm sure you experience that from your families. They engage you in different tasks, even the smallest task that you do in life, like fixing your bed and cleaning your rooms and so forth. It goes a long way. So with that, taking responsibility in what you do will make you very successful. And I see our community with the youth that we have, it's going to be in a great situation. And we are very appreciative to everyone who supported us throughout the process. And I envision that these communities and organizations will continue to strive to be at their best and to prosper and to do well. And with the new generation, to carry on the missions and visions that we have set forth in the beginning. Thank you so much.
I wanted to say, I want to tell you a part of my story. My story is a very, very long one, and it has been 39 years, actually 46 years since I came to the United States. I am the 11th child in my family, and I came from a relatively poor family financially. We're not poor anymore, but we were. And so when I came here, like I said, I came with one-way ticket and no one to receive me. So I became a vice president of a company, and I made lots of money. When first money that I made in 1979, beginning of 1980, I took my money and I went to Lebanon to make a better life for my mother, who raised 11 children. And I'm the youngest. So I built a nice house for her, furnished it. And I promised myself that every time I travel, I used to travel every month and then stay here a month. So I furnished the house. I spent, like at that time, 180,000, maybe more. And then in 1982, I was in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And I came from Riyadh to see my mother in Lebanon. It was June 5, 1982. I arrived there and I had the political instinct since I was a child. So I knew that there was something going on that is about to happen in Lebanon the Israelis are going to invade Lebanon. So I told my mom, I said, I want to leave, go to the village, and I'm going to take off. Went to the airport. I took the last flight, left Beirut International Airport, going to Paris. I'm making the story because I just want to tell you what happened after. 3 days in Paris, like not today. These days, you go to Paris and you come in, you go in the morning, you come in the afternoon. That time, there was like two flights from Paris to Detroit. 3 days later, I came to find out that the Israelis, when I left, I saw the Israeli jets were bombing on the outskirts of Beirut. So when I came, I learned that the house that I built for my mom and I furnished it was destroyed, totally destroyed. Burned and destroyed. And what made me really angry is I have all these love letters from the girl that when I was in school, and the pictures and my pillow and my blanket. I had them in a closet, arranged, all totally burned. And I was sitting, listening to the news in here, justifying the Israeli invasion. That going into a country, an independent country, a member of the United Nations, member of the Arab League, occupying its capital and destroying my home. Not only took Palestine, but they're taking my home. They're destroying my home and my own capital, Beirut. I said I can continue to make money, or I can make a difference. So I started thinking about what I can do, because what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a seat around the table when people are talking about our issues. I talk about my issues. No one can articulate my feeling as much as I can do it, as better as I can do it. And I was listening to the people who are being hosted on CBS and ABC and NBC. At that time, there was no CNN Fox. And they were justifying the invasion. Nobody talked about my house. Nobody talked about Palestine. Nobody talked about the occupation of a country, independent country. I said, we need to have a seat around the table. And that's what initiated me going into the newspaper business. From 1982 to 1984, I started the Arab American News. Now, in short, I accomplished what I wanted to do, to have a seat around the table. From Larry King to that couple, to Dan Rather, to every television station, CNN, Fox, every newspaper, the New York Times, the Washington Post, I was the one who was speaking and nobody else. I was the one who was telling the story because it's coming from my guts. We need people to do this. I want you to become the next senator. I want you to become the next member of the Congress. I want to see you standing on the podium in Washington, D.C. and speaking about my issues. Nobody can articulate my issues better than you. I want the mayor of the town that I am living in, someone that can look like me, feel like me. I want you to understand that we can make a difference and we can be very influential only if we want it to be, only if we work hard to be, only if we, like Maha said, all together we can do it. We cannot do it individually. Collectively, yes, we can. We did not become the mayor of Dearborn and Dearborn Heights and Hamtramck on an individual basis. We went to the polls and we voted and we brought in people who look like us, feel like us, talk like us, understand what we feel, to be on the helms. And therefore, it is your responsibility to take us a little bit further. I look at you and I see one of you one day be the president of the United States. Why not? Who said that Barack Obama would have been there, be a president? Who said it? Nobody could dream to see a president, a black president. yes, the time will come when we be in the White House and in the Congress. The possibilities are limitless, only if we make the decision. I came in with no shoes to the United States, and I met every president since Ronald Reagan, except Donald Trump. So we can make a difference. We can be influential. We can really shape our future only if we make the decision to do so. And that's why I'm telling you the story. I'm not telling you the story to feel be important. I'm not important. Not important at all. What I have done is important. And what I've done is nothing compared to what you can do. Nothing. Nothing. I believe in your ability to make much better things that we have done. And the future is in your hands.
Yeah, so, also one of the things I want to reiterate, about youth, just staying focused. And, one of the things that I always learned is you always keep your eyes on the prize, don't look back, just look forward, look ahead, and just keep focused on where you want to go and just have a vision. And one of the things, especially right now, these kids, these youth have gone through a lot more issues, especially during COVID. So I've seen a lot of, youth that has mental health issues, like being able to socialize, because they weren't able to for, close to 2 years. So I want to make sure that youth, like there's are aware that there's programs that they can consult, they can go talk to people, and if somebody wants to do anything in life, just find a person that they want to follow, and say, like say somebody wants to become a doctor, find a doctor, just have that doctor mentor that person, an attorney, an engineer, a business person, a journalist, an editor for a paper, anything, or, superintendent. So make sure you talk to certain people just so they can mentor you to get you whatever vision that you have. I want to again reiterate, there's a lot of resources that we have here. And if any youth that has issues, with anything, reach out to any of us. I always tell my people at the city or even the residents, my door is always open. Come and ask me any question. I can lead them to the right people, to whatever they need. So don't feel like you guys are alone, the youth. You guys are not alone. We're here for you. I stand behind you. I stand in front of you, either side of you. Just make sure you have a vision and you go for it.
Well, Hamadi, do you have any last words to conclude us today?
Just God bless you.
Well, the future looks bright, and I'm sure a lot can be accomplished. This is a huge accomplishment. Congratulations, and thank you so much for our guests, and thank you for our leadership and everybody, and the students, and everybody who has been a big piece of this grand opening. It's a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
This radio podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and a big thank you to our community leaders for joining us. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to our radio station, leave a review at siaradio@starpsa.org, and share this station with your friends. We'll be back soon with another exciting podcast and more fascinating discussions, and of course, to bring today's hit music to your ears. This is Sarah Mean signing off from the Nest. Here are some tunes to bring some good night vibes. Ma'asalama to you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good job.